Hello, my name is Steph Berg. This is for EDAE 590. Welcome to my mini learning activity number one. It was we will focus on my learning to utilize the instructional design platform Articulate 360. So the learning activity was a beginner's guide to Rise 360. This was a part of the suite of the Articulate 360 browser platform, which is a web browser platform for developing courses and lessons for a company's LMS, or as well as even posting just to the web. The onboarding course for Rise 360 was broken down into 4 lessons. So, lesson number 1 focused on building courses. I looked at or learned how to create new courses, how to customize that course, how to add lessons and blocks, um, how to share with stakeholders throughout the process of building the course, and then finally, when completing the course, how to publish it either to the web or to a learning management system. The learning activity, lesson 2. So, working with multimedia was the focus, and I learned how to add images and which blocks would support multimedia within the Rise 360 program. Lesson 3 focused on creating interactive e-learning. So, learning what are the basics of interactivities within Rise 360, how to add interactive blocks, how to create decision making within my course. And then finally, lesson number 4 focused on quizzing and assessing. I learned the difference between quizzes and knowledge checks, how to implement visual interest within my knowledge checks, how to add a graded quiz, and then how to export your course to an LMS and track that data using quiz results. The model of learning was online or e-learning. Simonson offers a definition of e-learning, which the book says usually this term refers to distance education in the private sector, what some would also call e-training. Um, Throughout my exploration, uh, it, it was an asynchronous um, learning activity, which Articulate provides plenty of learning materials to help learners along the way understand their program. Um, there's bunches of interactive content. So going through these lessons, you'll see from one of my pictures there that there's an interactive um, activity where you have to sort different cards in different categories. And that's just one example, but there's plenty of others. You also have access to the instructors at Articulate 360, although I'm not sure how frequently their response time is, especially in a discussion board. I'll mention plenty of times through this is that there's discussion boards at the bottom of every lesson. And when engaging in that, I'm not sure how quick those response times are, but I'm sure direct emails, you would get um, responses back in an appropriate time frame. And then, of course, there's plenty of other additional resources that were available to me as I explored Articulate 360. The learning that I achieved was how to create customized course by adding lesson blocks that can be shared with stakeholders and published to an LMS, or in my case, I just published to the web. Which blocks support multimedia and adding them to a course, how to create decision making within my course just to engage learners or be more learner centered. And then finally, how to add graded quizzes, knowledge checks, and then the difference between those two. So, how can it be applied to distance learning? Um, Articulate, or the process that I completed, was e-learning or distance learning. Erickson talks about in her review article that Articulate 360 is an e-learning tool that can be used for instructors for students. Sorry, by instructors for students. I can see this being applied to online courses, hybrid courses, and even flipped classrooms. Um, in my learning, it was a separation, of course, of teacher and student. I being the student, and my instructor being the designers at Articulate 360. And then interactive telecommunications in the form of discussion boards. So, like I mentioned before, there were discussion boards after each lesson that you could engage in, ask questions to other learners that were going through the same experience. And then finally, sharing your data, your voice, and videos, which could be applied to the discussion boards or even to the instructor. Pros and cons of implementation. So it's pro is that it's user friendly. Once completing those lessons, it was easy to understand how to develop a course through Articulate 360. It's also pretty immersive. Those lessons, like I mentioned before, are pretty student centered and engaging, and so it's an enjoyable experience. I really liked how you had the ability to either link to a learning management system or even publish to the web, which you guys will hopefully engage in my little lesson. And then the ability for instructors to kind of track progress of their learners through each lesson is really nice as well. Um, there are features that allow learning to be more student centered, as I mentioned, and there's a reduced need for multiple software subscriptions for instructional designers, which is really nice. Part of the Articulate 360 suite is the ability to create your lessons, but then also share those lessons through what's called Review or Reach 360. And then there's also so many resources provided to help guide learners to the information they need, either through discussion boards and the resources that are posted there, or even through Articulate 360, which has a library of resources on how to use their program. The cons, though, is that it's pretty pricey per user. It's pricing per user, which is about $600. So if you have a big team, each utilizing this, it could become pretty costly. Utilizing the discussion may take longer to hear back from instructors. I think instructors are probably pretty busy with other things within Articulate 360, and so I can see that the time frame between when you post a question and when you hear back might be pretty long. And then, of course, the need for internet to engage in building a course would be another con. Finally, here's a link for my little lesson that I created. It's about bonsai terminology and bonsai tree styles. So hopefully you guys enjoy engaging in that. Reflecting on my experience, so the assessment of the training quality was pretty comprehensive. Training material, the comprehensiveness of the training material. There's so depths of information, so much information that I, of course, couldn't cover all of it. I only took 4 lessons, and there's plenty more that I could take, which offers plenty more information. And so my learning module didn't cover this, but upon exploring, there's a lot of content to cover to become kind of a master in this program. The effectiveness of the delivery method. So through my lessons, there was a variety of different formats that they utilized and interactive elements, which really kept me motivated to learn and engaged in the process. And then the learned outcome was just the user proficiency. I was able to take what I learned and build my own little lesson from that, which was really nice. Process for investigating training quality. So the amount of research, again, the documentation that was available. So you could technically do a lot of research up on this or through this program on how to use it, as well as to engage in the community of Articulate 360 and talk to other users that are um, going through the same thing that you are. The hands-on evaluation. So the ability to roll in really any course that they offer on how to build your own program or lesson or plethora of other things that they offer through the Articulate 360 suite. And then just the practical application of being able to take what you've learned and put it into your own um, lesson or course. Um, Wodowski has a really nice quote that I liked that kind of ties all this together, which he says, providing learners the opportunity to effectively complete an authentic task is one of the best ways to conclude a learning activity because it indicates their competence, develops self-confidence, and promotes transfer of learning in their daily lives, which I really valued uh, in this program. And that's a quote from um, page 317, which is included in my references here. And then finally, the learning from the process. So I understand through reflection the importance of structured learning paths. Articulate through these lessons offered clear objectives and milestones for me to complete. Um, there's a value of interactive learning. The interactive elements enhanced engagement and retention for me. And then the community support was user community offered valuable tips and support. And here are some of my references. And thank you so much for listening.